Diaspora. Today we're going to talk about the advantages of acquiring West African property, West African real estate. So right now there's a growing demand for real estate properties in West Africa, and the reason is very simple. You have a lot of African immigrants who are thinking about moving back to their homeland. You also have a high demand from African Americans as well as the Caribbeans who are looking to move back to their homeland, which is good news. There's also other reasons. Present several opportunities for diversification and growth. So the first advantage is leveraging the US dollar. As a US dollar earner, you have a greater currency strength versus the local currencies in West Africa. For example, a dollar is worth 598 francs on the local currency. So the dollar is basically 600 times stronger than West African currency. So that means that you have a much higher buying power than the local population, and that puts you at an advantage in acquiring real estate property. And beyond the buying power of the dollar, you also have the fact that the cost of living is much lower overseas than in the United States. For example, the living cost for a family of four is less than $1,000 for most families in West Africa. So that means that, for example, you can buy a villa for $40,000 or four-bedroom villa for $40,000, and it will be a nice one. You can also acquire some properties as low as $30,000 in some regions of West Africa, but you have to do your research, of course, and you have to do your due diligence. So the lower cost of living gives another advantage above the buying power of the dollar. The cost of living is much lower in West Africa, and this is a second advantage that as a US buyer you can take advantage of. Third advantage is that owning a property overseas will basically bring you passive income, because when you're not visiting the property, if you're not living there, you can let a property management rent out the residence for you, and it will basically become passive income. And even though that passive income will be tax deductible, what you can do to offset your tax bill is that you can deduct the initial payment, the cash payment you made on that residence, or if there's a mortgage that you're paying monthly on it, you can use that expense as a deduction, so your tax bill will be lower on the rental income. The fourth advantage is a little known tax advantage that put foreign real estate in one of those rare class assets that do not have to be reported to the IRS. And actually there's a form called 8938. That's the IRS form 8938 that states that foreign real estate does not have to be reported as a foreign assets. Whereas if you have bank accounts, stocks, and securities managed overseas, you have to report those on form 8938. So basically toreign real estate is a form of protected asset. So that means that not only the IRS can go for it, but also third parties can sue you and basically go after it. It's basically an asset that's working as a stiff arm against any third party trying to grab your assets. So it would be hypocritical to not talk about the issues in fraud and scam in the real estate industry in Africa. That's a big challenge. It's a big issue that we've dealt with for several years. A lot of diaspora members and even local citizens have fallen victim to scam and fraud. But the wave is changing, the tide is changing, and the industry is changing as well. I think that a lot of stereotypes are being lifted on Africa, and there's been a gaining interest in African real estate markets. The Chinese are moving in, the Russian are coming in, European have long been there, United States and even other Asian countries. And the Turkish nation is also showing a lot of interest in African territories. So now is the right time to make the move, but you have to use a lot of due diligence. You have to be very, very cautious, because it's a highly profitable industry, but it's also highly risky. So with greater risk come greater rewards, but you have to surround yourself with a team that can conduct the due diligence effectively. Most likely you have to have a contact in a tax sector, in the legal sector, and make sure that you have the right team in terms of banking as well, to make sure that you have all the services required to make your real estate acquisition as smoothly, as effectively as possible.